afternoon, Dr. Wirawani. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we are going to present our mini project for HMEC5313, counseling and guiding children in early childhood education. This mini project is part of our assignment in which we are required to practice a counseling skill to child in a classroom. One of the requirements of this mini project is to work in a group, and our group members are myself, Amy Hendrik,
I am Pei,
and I'm Kyung Pei. Since 3 of us are based in Miri. And then, now, in this mini project, we chose 5 years old boy, one from one of preschool in Miri. This boy, his general personality and characteristics, we saw that he was active and outgoing children. This child is an extrovert and has no problem socializing. He has a close-knit group of friends in his class that he would normally talk with. We observe that he can communicate well in English, and he is actually attentive and participative with class activities. Okay, now why we chose him as our play therapy subject as follows. Apart from his earlier characteristics, one at time we observe that he displays stressful emotion. For example, when he is the last person to complete any classwork among his peers. This later manifests his into crying. And we also observe that he was lack of self-confidence. For example, unwilling to participate when presented with more difficult challenges or obstacles. Now that we are done in the pre-observation presentation, we now join Miss Joanne for her presentation for practice of play therapy.
So for sandplay therapy, we are choosing the sandplay therapy for this child. So sandplay therapy is actually a non-verbal, a healing intermediate that makes use of sand, then the toy figurines, and sometimes water to produce scenes of a miniature world that reflects a child's inner thought, struggles, and their anxieties. So one of the most common technique that used in the sandplay will be the word technique sandplay process. So the design of the sandplay is actually conducted by their imagination and by their subconscious. So the outcome is of the miniature that they created is actually reflects their inner world. So during the sandplay session, the sand is molded, and these little miniatures objects are actually added to create a 3-dimensional image. So any verbal interpretation, reflection, or maybe discussion about their inner world will happen right after the sandplay, and then the child will actually complete it. Right after completed, then they will interpret their inner world, and then they will share their thought. So actually the 3-dimensional pictures allow children to interpret or to play out the themes that are essential to their struggles, to their anxiety, or to their challenges that they face in their real life. So why do we choose sandplay? Sandplay therapy can be effective in treating children. So sandplay therapy facilitates children to have interpersonal skills or interaction with the creative expression of the emotions and feelings, as well as stimulates their primary intellects and emotional dynamism in the deep unconsciousness. So in this approach, sandplay therapy actually gives the opportunity to the children to express themselves freely and voluntarily under a relationship of trust with the therapist by a symbol in the sand play where strictly for the children which are there are capable to express their thought, their expression, or even their struggles. So I will talk about some of the benefit of the sand or rationale of the sand play. So sand play no need to have any artistic skill or any special skill. Sand play deliver the boundaries and the limit that contribute to the sense of security in the therapeutic process, and sand play is proven that is effective in overcoming child's conflict. Now I would like to pass the session to my next group mate, Miss Tiong Pei, to continue and to talk more about the post observation.
Good afternoon. During the first session, Child A actually chose the truck and all the sea animals. He is trying to create a sea scene, and we give him the free choice during the play to create his own world. And we give him the choice whether he wants to use the water source to produce a sea scene. And during the sand play, he was given time to truly play around, and we tell him he even can use the sand only if he do not want to choose any of the miniature. But he chose to create his own sea world with sea animals and also the trucks as the lighthouse and ship. And during this time, we actually asked him, and he tell us a little bit about the sea world and the sea life that he created. And during the second session, he actually used marbles and pebbles to represent peoples. And when we asked him, he actually tell us that his family, specifically his father, his mother, his brother, his auntie, and him. And they worked together to build a big sand castle. And they worked very hard to build it. After the completion of the sand castle, they stayed in the sand castle. And after that, he chose a dinosaur. And the dinosaur come to attack the castle. And what happened is that the castle actually transformed into a volcano, and the volcano erupted and chased away the dinosaur. And right after that, he changed the scene. And the human actually live happily with the dinosaur, and they even ride on the back of the dinosaur and play around that area. And before the end of the scene, he actually buried all the pebbles and all the marbles in the sand. And we asked him, why is that so? And he explained that the people is now died, and that's why he buried them in the sand. And that's the end of the second session. After the second session, we have tried to observe him in the class. He shows positive improvement in his self-control and emotion control. He did not break out for so frequent anymore. And there's one session that he actually break out because his friend is not playing with him well. But after a short while, let's say around 1 or 2 minutes, he actually able to calm himself down, and he actually can regulate his own feeling. So we can say that this sand play is actually effective toward this child, and we are very glad that we can practice this together as a group. So as a conclusion, we find that this sand play therapy is a success for us in this child A particularly. And we are very glad for this opportunity that Dr. Wira provided for us to exercise this play therapy on the child, so that we will be able to understand more how can we work together with the child by using sand play to help them to overcome their challenges in life.
That's right.
Yes.
So I guess that's the end of our
Yeah, that's the
presentation.
end.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Virawati.
That's right. Yeah.
So we'll see you next time.
Bye.